first order of business. Look at that bench. Yeah, let's get all this cleaned up. I left a real mess. Gonna get this all cleaned up and then I'm gonna start. I think I'll start by getting the clutch fork fixed. Okay. So what I ended up doing was taking this one that didn't have the proper ends on it but had a good clip. I just drilled out those rivets, took the clip off, and installed it on my original, well, it's not totally original, a D3DA. I had replaced this once before because the ball socket here wore out. Anyway, so there it is. I had to make my own rivets and stake them down. Anyway, this is the way this is supposed to snap in here. It's just supposed to go in here like this and be held that tight. See how tight that is. Not loose, can't rattle. Got a really good socket where the fulcrum goes and has nice rounded pressure points. Okay, so I'm good to go. I am rebuilding my OEM hubs. Now this is the type that has the disc on the back side of the hub, like so. I have a couple of issues. One thing is, here we go with aftermarket parts again. These holes are 30 thousandths larger in diameter than the originals. The inside hole here is only 2 or 3 thousandths. My problem is though that if, so you can hear the play. Okay, fine. But the stud is also loose, which means that the disc will be neither hub-centric nor lug-centric. These studs, of course, they have a shoulder on them. This is the part that presses into the hub, and this is a larger diameter that is supposed to center in on these holes on the disc. Well, it doesn't quite make it, so what I need is some 15,000 shim material that I can put around here to make it so that it takes up the play. And I don't have anything 15 thousandths, unfortunately. However, I do have lacquer thinner can, which is about 10 thousandths. So that will take 20 thousandths of the play out and help center it. So I'm going to go ahead and make little wraps for each one of these studs to help center this up when I put it together. Okay, that's that issue. You also notice I've got the races pounded out here, and you can see, I don't know if you can see that or not, but these hubs are in absolutely great shape. There is no sign of any spinning or problems or somebody putting a bearing in there weird. So I think we're good. For those of you who don't have a nice nifty way to press this bearing in, I mean, you can normally tap it and get it started, or use a bearing driver if you have it. But if you don't have it, what I end up doing is I just go over here on the grinder and I will grind the outside of the old race off so that it just slides in and out without binding. So that then becomes my driver tool for the new bearing. I can just get it started, get it tapped down in there, and I can put this one on top, put a flat piece of steel on the top, and then I can just pound right on the center of it and drive it right down in there square like without worrying about hanging this up or dinging up the face of the bearing. mean, you don't want to use a punch or anything and drive on this directly, because you'll end up messing up the bearing. Okay, so I have ground off this outside edge. Then I give it a little buff with the wire wheel to kind of take the little sharp edges off of grinding it. And now they just slide right in, just like so. So you can use them as a driver and then pull them right back out. Same with the one for the outside, the outer. So just like that, I have a pair of drivers for my bearings. So standard A6 bearing. These are made in China. They're nationals. They actually don't look bad, considering. Okay, let's see if I can get this thing started here. First thing I want to do is get it started even. And then I just prefer to hit it right in the center. See how we doing? Looks like it's going in just fine. Ways further to go. I have to get out my punch because I'm out of room there. Just got to make sure they're really well seated, because if you don't, when you go to adjust your bearings, they'll feel just fine, and the first time they get hot, the race will seat itself in the hub and your bearings will be loose. For those of you that have had your trailer wheels fall off for that very reason. You can tell when it hits bottom, it gets a little ring to it. And there it is, driven in place. Okay. Get the other one in. Once again, you can hear the note of it change. See, and the driver comes right out. And there they are. Races in, completely undamaged. You don't want to walk the races down like this, you know, walk them. You want to drive them even, otherwise it'll expand the area, kind of chew it out and expand the area where the races go in, and then you won't be able to get a decent bearing adjust. So, looks great. And there you have it. That's how I do wheel bearings. Now I won't be greasing these or you know, packing them up or anything, because I still have to get the hubs mounted on the rotors, or rotors mounted to the hubs, however you want to say that. And you know, one thing that isn't available, these here studs. I was looking for a set of GT350 Shelby ones. They, you know, they're extra long for racing, which is required by FIA and SCCA. They want to make sure that there's as many threads sticking through the wheel lug nut as this stud has diameter. So in this case it's 1/2 inch, so the stud needs to stick out a minimum of a ½ an inch past the nut, which these stock ones won't do that. Anyway, but I haven't been able to find any. So, and even the replacement ones for these look pretty bleak, so I'm going to reuse these. And, you know, I hope these knurls hold up. I think they will. They're, you know, it's not like the hub is worn out or anything, you know. Anyway, I have to have this style of stud no matter what I do, and if I can't find the racing ones of these, then I'll just have to forego using them. And what I'm hoping is, because it's factory original, that I can get away with running in the stock class. I just don't know yet. We'll see. So what I'm doing here is, I don't know if you can see that or not, but I'm fitting that shim material in on these studs, and you can see it takes up almost all of the play. So I will do that. I'll put a shim like that in each one of these holes before I press the studs through the hub. So I've got the spacers in all of the studs now, so I'm just going to use a bolt here to rattle this, pull them into place as a press, as it were. Just like that. Okay, that one now, this one. And we are going to put some oil on them threads. Looks like I'm starting to pull the threads on the nut. So we'll see what happens here. You know, one thing you'll notice about this, this hub, Kelsey Hayes, and the well, wow, you can really hear it raining out there. So see, Kelsey Hayes, you can see it right on the studs. So this is all original stuff. Woohoo! They must have bought the whole assembly from Kelsey Hayes. I just put the bearings in, ran it on the spindle just to make sure it was running true, and it is. So not only this way, but there's no run out this way either. So cool. I know these hubs are straight. So one thing to remember, anytime you have your studs out and you put them back in, even if you're using the same ones, this air impact I was using only does 75 foot-pounds. So when I torque them up to 100, of course they're going to pull up a little more and stretch in a little more. And as soon as they get hot and cold a couple of times, they're going to loosen up. So anytime you do studs, after you drive the car, you can put it all together and everything, but after you drive the car 100 miles, always retorque your wheels a couple of times just to make sure. Because if you don't, especially if you're sending a customer down the road, you got to tell them, 100 miles from now I want to see you and I'm going to retorque your wheels. Anyway, so that's it for that. Just another task knocked out today. So I finally did the deed. Got all the bolts, the nuts here tightened up, torqued and pinned. So the suspension is all in one piece, and I went ahead and cleaned up and painted the shields, splash shields. Got the brakes assembled. All the brake lines are hooked up, so I can bleed the brakes now. So there you go. She's looking good. You've been watching Don's Manufactory. Thanks, and I'll catch you later.